It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is a song that is not titled. It is untitled. It is the Tom Keifer Band. It is brand new from the new release, Rise. And on the line we have the guitarist, the vocalist, the namesake himself, the man, the myth, the legend. It is Tom Keifer. Tom, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. Tom, it's definitely great to have new music out here from you, and Rise certainly, I will say it's probably the best thing that you've put your name on since Heartbreak Station, man. This is just such a great release from you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
I heard you just played one of my favorite tracks up there because I really like Untitled.
It's such a good
but thank
song.
you for the kind words. We had a lot of fun making this one. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Well, Tom, let's talk a little bit about Rise. I mean, this for me as a fan, basically since Night Songs, this is kind of where I sort of thought you would get to, and life goes on. I think you were trying a lot of stuff, and this one seemed, I don't know, and I don't want to say focused and all these, douchey words necessarily, but this one just feels more in the pocket for what myself as a fan would expect. Do you feel like maybe you've kind of, found your focus or your niche or your groove with this record?
I think focus is a good word for it. We actually kind of said that when we set out to do it. I love The Way Life Goes. I think probably what maybe makes that one feel slightly unfocused is that there's 14 songs on it.
Okay.
And we kind of consciously decided to make this one less songs and kind of a more concise, compact package,
right.
So the fact that The Way Life Goes had 14 tracks on it, there's just a little more variety on that one. It's a little bit broader in some ways. But this one certainly has that variety as well. So I would say that I think more focus is a good way to put it. And sure. I think also what helps with that is the fact that it's recorded with a band that's been touring together for 6 years.
Sure.
So it was very easy to find that, we have a groove and a chemistry together now, whereas The Way Life Goes was created with session players, and more of an overdubbed kind of vibe. And This was really the band jumping off of 6 years of touring and going straight into the studio. We purposely took over and locked out a very kind of small, tight studio room.
Right.
And we set up in the room together and really cut these tracks for the most part live. There's not as much overdubbing on this record as records I've done in the past. And so that's probably the continuity or that focus comes from that as well.
Sure. As basically one of the all-time road dogs, a guy that really never comes off the road, I have to imagine doing a record live like this makes these songs a lot more strong to you because you know that they're going to translate well to the live setting, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, when, the going in and going for performances and letting everybody just kind of feel their way around on their parts and all until it feels like a track, certainly lends itself more to having to overdub less, so we were going for performances. And when I say performances, I mean some of these songs, literally, it's from the drums up to my lead vocal or right from the tracking session.
Okay.
It's, very, very much a live record. And I think that was what we were trying to capture because we've been doing that for 6 years.
Right.
And that's how and then obviously that makes it, everybody's kind of, playing basically what we did in the studio. It's not a highly layered record.
Sure.
I mean, even some of those big vocal stacks, they're, obviously there's some overdubs going on there, but we have 6 amazing singers in the band. So a lot of that stuff, like on Rise, was us around one mic and just, the out section of Rise and just singing, very much like what we do live on
Mm-hmm.
Shelter Me, or when we did a little Help from My Friends. You know, we have that kind of big gothic gospel kind of blend between the all the singers in our band. So, yeah, it's us.
Sure.
You know.
It definitely is, and certainly the first single, "Death of Me," that's definitely you. I mean, that's, you know, just from the lyricals. Not that the rest aren't, but I mean, that song, that's almost like a history lesson into Tom Keifer. You know, it really does tell your story, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely, and we highlighted that in the video.
Right.
But yeah, I think that, you know, Death of Me kind of harkens back to Night Song's era in terms of the heaviness and the darkness kind of thing. But I also think that you know, there's a lot of that more organic kind of Heartbreak Station stuff, like you mentioned, with like Waiting on the Demons and you know, Taste for the Pain. So, you know, the records that I've been involved with over the years have always been ones that have a musical journey to them. It's not, you know, 12 songs at all or exactly the same song. So in that sense, I think that this record follows that tradition, and it's a tradition I learned from really amazing artists like Zeppelin and the Stones, because their records always had peaks and valleys and, you know, high energy songs and intimate acoustic songs. And I just think that's what makes, you know, a great record, is when you have that variety.
Sure. Now, I'm curious, Tom, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, because I'm not trying for this to be negative or anything like that, but do you think of yourself now as more of a musician than you did maybe in the heyday? And I'll point to Long Cold Winter, which is obviously the one that most people point to as the best record, you know, in the Cinderella catalog, and say that every song on that sounds like it was sort of written to be a hit, whether it was or it wasn't. All those songs could have been a hit in that, you know, snapshot of time. It seems to me, as an outsider, like now you really explore a lot more musically than, I don't know if it was what you were allowed to do because of record company constraints then, or the business of being in a band then, but it just really feels like you have a lot more openness to try things musically. Is that fair, or not even close?
Well, I would say that's I got to be honest. We've never, or I have never, the Cinderella never did, and I certainly don't now, am dictated to by a label. Actually, the label gave us complete creative freedom back with the Cinderella records, and obviously we still control that with the solo records. I mean, we basically create them on our own and give them to the label. So I think maybe what you're referring to is that there's kind of a classic structure to the songwriting. You know, it's like that verse, pre-chorus, chorus, you know, in most of the songs that I've written or been involved in writing. But I would say in terms of experimental, I think that's, you know, actually starting with Long Cold Winter, I think a lot of things came in that were pretty different for the time, like the National Steel intro on Bad Seamstress Blues starting the record was not really very 80s at the time. It's pretty broken down, intimate Robert Johnson kind of thing, and the title track itself was a straight up kind of heavy blues song. So I don't know, I feel like, you know, in answer to your question, I've always just created music that was in my heart and that felt real. And a lot of it has that formula that you're talking about, but, you know, I get that from, you know, probably listening to, I grew up on Rod Stewart and I grew up on the Rolling Stones, you know, and there was a formula to the writing where it was kind of like verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, you know, it's like that, I guess, pop song structure, but they're hard rock songs. So, yeah, I mean, I think that structure is in there that you're talking about, or that formula, but it's not something that I do intentionally, say for success or because a record company told us we had to.
Right.
I think it comes from my influences, I guess is what I'm saying. My influences were great songwriters.
Okay. Fair enough.
So,
no, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Tom, for you as you know, a band that is always touring, for the Tom Keifer Band, which is always, seems like you guys are always on the road. It seems like every time I turn around, there's another YouTube video of you guys on the road somewhere playing shows. You know, is that because you guys love to tour? Is that because it's a business necessity in 2019? Is it a little bit of both? I mean, where does that fit these days?
Well, you know, it's the most consecutive touring that I've ever done. You know, I've always believed that, you know, you go out and you tour and you hit it hard, and then you take a break. You know, it's good for you, and it's good for the fans to put some space. But when the new band started, the new band was born out of the necessity of, we needed a band to support The Way Life Goes. So
right.
When we got that record deal and the record was released and the label was like, get out there and tour, Savannah and I were like, we don't have a band. So we put together a band, and, you know, it was like starting over, because it was no longer under the name Cinderella. It was me with a new band. So I think the reason we've toured so much in the last 6 years is because we've been growing this band, not only as a band, like musically and as a family, but also getting out there and playing shows and watching the crowds grow from 2013 to very small, half-full clubs to
right.
like now places are packed, and we're actually getting opportunities to be on, you know, giant festivals, and, you know, just watching that whole thing grow. And it felt like a necessity to stay out there year after year, because it was something new that needed to be developed. So that's why we've been out there for 6 years, just kind of hitting it relentlessly. And
sure.
we felt like at the end of the tour dates last year, you know, that we had really kind of gone out and showed our wares, if you were. And I think people are now aware of what the band is, what the show's like. I don't think people knew when I first started in 2013, what's that show going to be like?
Sure.
So it's been a lot of like going out and building the band as much as supporting. You know, the cycle for The Way Life Goes was over in, you know, 2 years,
right.
But we just felt like, let's keep touring as a band and growing as a band out there.
Sure.
And then it was time to make a record. We kind of looked at each other after our last date last year and said, let's go in the studio.
Right.
And let's knock out a record.
Right. Definitely. Now, Tom, you specifically, not the band, just you're in almost an unenviable position. I mean, I see the interviews that you do, and every single one of them asks you the same dumb question. Well, how come Cinderella's not getting back together and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not asking that, but I just look at it as you're in such an unenviable position. I mean, you could color the record cover purple and slap a Cinderella logo on it, and people would bitch that it's not all the original members. Or you could do what you're doing, which is having integrity, saying this is not Cinderella, this is a new band, it's, you know, it's not the same thing, and people bitch that it's not Cinderella. You know, it's like, is there any way possible to make people happy that you're still out there and you're making new music, and you're making music that's viable to who you have always been as an artist?
You know, I mean, what people choose to like or not like is out of anyone's control. Sure. Or what their expectations are. So the only thing I can say is that you know, this is a new band. It's a new entity. Part of it involves my past, because I wrote and sang those songs. I did the majority of the guitar work on it, was heavily involved in the production. So they're a part of me, and I love playing and singing those songs. Sure. Still to this day, they're as new as they were 30 years ago for me. And the fans make it that way, because they want to hear them, and they sing them. I cannot sing them at all and just hold the mic out. They
right.
sing every word. So clearly that's something that is always going to be a part of me, and I want to be, and I'm going to perform them. But you know, this is not Cinderella. It's a new band, and there's 2 new albums now.
Right.
Which, you know, both of which the material has gone down incredibly well, and we had great success with the first one, and so far doing pretty well with this one. And those are that material is mixed in with the other songs, right? And it's a whole new energy. So it's a new chapter, and it's a new band. So it's, in terms of performance, the show, if you come out and you watch it, you know, the way I perform and sing and play guitar is still the same as it's always been, and the show is very high energy. But you know, it's a new band.
Sure, definitely.
It's a new entity, and I think that without the new material, you know, I think the fact that there's new records being made and fresh music being injected into it, along with the stuff from my past, I think that makes it legitimate.
Sure.
You know,
definitely does. What means more to you, you know, at a show? Does it mean more to you with every single person in the room singing "Don't Know What You Got," or does it mean more to you that 2/3 of the audience will be singing along to "Death of Me" because they're in it for the long haul, I guess?
At most shows, what we've found is that they are singing the new stuff and are as enthused about the new as much as the old, and that's been an incredible feeling to see that happen, because you know, there's you know, a good third of this set is new material stuff from The Way Life Goes and the new record now. And the new record in particular, when we started playing a handful of those new songs before it was even released, we're going over, people hearing them for the first time live were really, you know, really responding to them like well. So obviously both things are meaningful.
Sure.
You know, I don't really separate, you know, the two. There's songs and emotions that I felt and wrote or wrote with Savannah or some other writers or whatever. You know, you create a song and you hope that people like it, be it if it's a Cinderella one from the Cinderella days or a new one. You want people to like them. You know,
right.
That's so. It's equally as meaningful to hear the reaction to both.
As long as they're just not standing there with their arms crossed in front of the stage, right?
Well, that's not a feeling that any musician wants to feel on stage. And you know, every once in a while, you get a crowd that's a little docile, and you do wonder, do they like us? You know, but you know, that's, you know, it happens. You know, right. Some are more mellow than others, but all the shows are fun regardless, you know. Sure.
Well, Tom, you're obviously getting ready. If you're not, I don't remember if you're already on tour or if you're getting ready to tour again, but there's touring coming. I know you're coming here on October 19th. So talk about what people can expect if they come out to the shows.
Well, we've been out. We've done about 6 weeks already.
Okay.
And we've got more stuff coming up starting in October. And it's like I said before, it's a high, you know, if you've seen me perform in the past in any capacity, be it with the solo band or Cinderella, I perform the same way. It's, you know, strap the guitar on, crank it up, screaming vocals, pounding drums, high energy rock show. But, you know, peppered throughout are the dynamic moments, whether it's the ballads and some more intimate stuff. So the show's a journey that ranges from the high energy, sweat dripping rock and roll, and then the emotional kind of more intimate stuff too is in there too, to kind of give those dynamics. It's a big rock show. Yeah. 7-piece band, 6 amazing singers in it, so the vocals are, you know, everything's live. There's no tracks or anything like that. I mean, we pride ourselves in being 100% live, and so we go out there and we give the audience our all every night.
Very good, man. Well, you definitely gave the audience their all, the buying public your all with the new release, Rise. It is the Tom Keifer Band. And Tom, as a tradition on the show, we always let the artist pick a closing track to wrap up the interview and maybe tell us a quick story about it. So what would you like us to wrap this one up with?
A song?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. From the new record.
You pick one.
Well, I already played Untitled. I'm going to go with Death of Me, just because it really is. it's to me, it's the best record. It's the best song on the record. I love that song. It's just a perfect fit, and it certainly showcases everything that you've gone through over the years. So why don't we go with that one?
Cool. Well, and I like that one too. It's obviously one of our favorites because it's the first foot that we put forward, and decided to release that as the single and the video. And it's a song that it first came into being with a lyric that Savannah wrote, and she handed it to me one day, and I read it, and I just loved it, and it struck a chord with me because the lyrics are an anthem for overcoming anything that is holding you down or any challenges in your life. And I've had plenty, and I know that everyone out there has had plenty too. So I thought it was not only struck a chord with me, but was a very universal because it's something that we can all relate to. So that's was a real natural one for us to cut the video to. You know, it's high energy, so it was a fun one to go up and kind of express that angst on film, if you will.
Sure.
And it's kind of by way of example with the overcoming the adversity and challenges, we came up with that idea of having the TV that was talking to me and reminding me of all the things I've been through, and then ultimately I smash all those problems, which I got to say felt really, really good. I mean, that was cathartic to do that. And I think my story on that screen is only by way of example, because I think fans are familiar with a lot of those things. But I encourage anyone watching that video to envision your own challenges on that screen and envision destroying your own challenges, because that's a powerful thing to visualize that.
No doubt. Well, let's check it out right now. It is Death of Me. It is Tom Keifer Band right here on your Classic Metal Show.